How to choose a badminton racket. The advancements in technology has allowed badminton rackets to be more sophisticated in recent years, which enables you to play at a higher standard. The type of rackets you use can be selected by the game you play. For instance, singles players and doubles players use different rackets due to the demands placed on them during a rally and a whole game. Different factors determine what type of racket is suitable for you. This depends on 1. Your skill level, whether you're a beginner, intermediate or an advanced player. 2. The game you play, whether you play singles or doubles. 3. How often you play. 4. Your playing style, whether you play attacking or defensive. And 5. Of course, your budget. Rackets can be selected due to their overall weight and range from 2U to 8U and are measured in grams. You also need to consider the head balance, and these can be head heavy, even balance, or head light. Another factor to take into account is the shaft flexibility. They can be stiff, medium, or flexible, or anywhere in between. Finally, you need to look at the grip size. G3, G4, and G5 are the common sizes for racket handles. These specifications are usually written on the shaft of the racket or on the head of the racket, or sometimes on the cone of the racket. However, sometimes nothing is written at all and you have to search online. Head balance. As mentioned before, there are 3 types of head balance: head heavy, even balance, and head light. The balance of the racket is measured from the handle without any strings or an overgrip. But please note, unfortunately, standardization is not the case across all racket brands, but this should give you a good starting point. If the distance from the handle to the balance point is less than 280mm, it is considered head light. If the distance from the handle to the balance point is between 280mm and 300mm, it is considered an even balance racket. If the distance from the handle to the balance point is greater than 300mm, it is considered a head heavy racket. Although some people consider the racket to be head heavy if it is between 290 and 295mm. Racket weight. Badminton rackets are light in weight and on average weigh between 70 and 95 grams when the racket has no strings or grip on the handle. To simplify things, most rackets are made of carbon fibre with other materials added to increase strength and/or performance. Carbon fibre is chosen due to the strength to weight ratio, stiffness and the kinetic energy it provides to the shuttle. The letter U is used to indicate the weight of the badminton racket. Most badminton racket weights are between 4U and 2U, but other brands such as Apex provide lighter rackets going as light as 6U, 7U and 8U. Please note, again there is no standardization in these measurements across brands, so check the specific racket that you want to buy and look at the individual specifications so you get the racket you want. Racket grip size. For most rackets, the sign G is used to indicate the size of the racket handle, with G3, G4 and G5 being the common sizes for a racket handle. G3 means a larger racket handle in diameter, whereas G5 is the smallest racket. It is best to choose a grip to suit your palm size and small enough so you can swiftly change from forehand to backhand grip during rallies comfortably. Racket shaft flexibility. Badminton racket shafts can be varied and range from flexible, medium flex, stiff to extra stiff. The science behind the advantages of certain racket shafts and their flex is debated, but the following explanation provides a good guide for you to follow when selecting a racket. To emphasize more power, search for a head-heavy racket and a stiffer shaft. The stiffer shaft is thought to provide a controlled uncoil or flex, producing more momentum during the swing. This in turn will result in more power. A heavy head and stiff shaft is favoured with singles players and rear court doubles players, who need more power in their smashes. Quick manoeuvrability is not required as much for singles, so a head-heavy and heavier racket is used. For more manoeuvrability and rapid reactions in rallies, it is recommended to choose a head-light racket and an overall lighter frame. This type of racket may be more suitable for doubles players, especially the player who excels at the net. This headlight racket is great for fast defensive player, attacking drives and overall quick reactions. as a compromise between the two rackets mentioned previously is the even balanced racket. This type of racket is for the player who is an all-rounder who switches position between the forecourt and the rear court. Finally, as an extension to the last point, even balanced rackets offer the beginner a good chance to develop an all-round game. A racket with a flexible shaft is also recommended, as this works well with a novice's slower swing speed, allowing them to get enough power but still learn the basic techniques. Racket specification examples. Not all brands use the same measurements or actually clearly state the specifications of a racket, which makes it difficult to compare sometimes. There is no standardization yet for the weight and the grip sizes, unfortunately, but please bear in mind that all this advice is relative and you may prefer a different racket to which you have been recommended. This Apex racket has a head-heavy balance, a shaft which is medium flex, and a racket weight of 89 grams. Compare this to the Carlton racket, which has a head-heavy balance and an extra stiff shaft with a weight of 94 grams. My personal recommendation. Try and select a racket as heavy as you can handle within reason to help develop your strength, power and fitness to use the racket. With a heavier racket that is head heavy, you can hit the shuttle further, and this applies even for beginners. The racket and bottle analogy. To explain my point, try and imagine you are holding two plastic bottles. One plastic bottle is completely empty, while the other plastic bottle is half full of water. If you try and throw the empty plastic bottle, it will not go very far. However, when you throw the half-filled plastic bottle, it will travel a much greater distance. So please imagine that the half-filled plastic bottle represents a head-heavy racket. So go into a store and try and feel a few rackets from the shelf. Also try and test rackets before you buy them. So at your club, borrow people's rackets to get a good idea of what type of racket you prefer. Other factors to consider. There are other factors that affect your racket head balance. Having a big grip may cause your head-heavy racket to be more even balanced, whereas a smaller or lighter grip may cause your racket head to be more head-heavy. Also, your technique, playing style, physical ability and game experience all influence you when searching for a new racket that suits your strengths. In the end, you will find that the racket tends to choose you after all is said and done. It is recommended that complete beginners should start with what is known as two-piece rackets while they are learning the game and developing technique. This is because these rackets are relatively inexpensive and are robust and durable enough to withstand any clashes of rackets during play. Two-piece rackets may be composed fully of steel, aluminium or some other light metal. Better rackets will have a carbon graphite shaft and an aluminium head. Once you become more proficient and tactically aware, you can progress and upgrade to a one-piece racket, which is composed solely of carbon graphite or of a similar material such as boron, which reduces the overall racket weight but increases its elasticity. This one-piece construction and elasticity or flexibility of the shaft gives the player more power due to the whipping effect. Also, please be aware that in some shops, some retailers are selling one-piece rackets that are not fully graphite all the way through and have an aluminium head instead. If you touch the racket head of such rackets, you will soon tell by the cool feel of the aluminium material. If you truly want a one-piece racket with the graphite throughout, then the head will not be cool to the touch. Conclusion. So here is a summary of the key points you need to follow. Number 1. Choose a slightly heavier racket for more power and preferably a head-heavy one. Number 2. Try out many rackets before buying and ask friends to borrow theirs. 3. You can modify an old racket before purchase or even modify after purchase. 4. Buy online for better deals providing you know the specifications you like. And finally, 5. With experience you will know exactly what type of racket suits your style of play. Bye for now.